I will say this, it is simple, it is not easy. Your first few attempts to do this, okay, you will stumble over it, you will make mistakes, you will feel nervous.
Start pulling out the paper.
Yeah, well, you should take, your
So.
Number 5.
Start reading off the paper, right?
Well, I would set it in front of you. I wouldn't have any problems when you're first getting started. Just set it in front of you and say, okay, these are the things that I need to know about so I can figure out if I have the best thing for you. Do you mind if I ask you some questions? And they'll go ahead, when I was a broker, they gave us needs analysis things out the wazoo.
Yeah.
I mean, there was,
We have that.
and what I found is all of them were stilted. They were asked in an order that didn't make sense, and they were very uncomfortable for me. So what I did is I took out my yellow pad and I said, let's talk. Tell me about this stuff. And this is kind of the routine that I would go through with customers, okay? Once I got comfortable doing it, I'd close 90% of the people that I talked to, okay? When I first started using it, no, it was 20%, okay? But I became more comfortable, okay? Now here's the other thing, and this is a warning to you as newer reps. Our customers sometimes will go off on rabbit trails, and they'll start talking about something, you go, where in the world is this going? And you really want to reel them back in and get them back on track. And I'm going to tell you, don't do that. Let them go for a while, okay? Because at that moment, they're sharing something with you that is important to them, okay? And you may not know what it is right now, but it's important to them because they have to tell you about it. Maybe nobody else is listening to them, That builds trust. The great thing about having your questions written down in order is you know where to go next to reel them back in. But let them talk, okay? Yeah. So they'll know because you listen to them that you are important to them, okay? Remember, the number one thing we're overcoming is like and trust, okay? That's what we have to get to. So that's the let's talk for IUL. I have one that's different for annuities, okay? Now, this portion, this is primarily written for non-qualified money. If you know somebody's sitting on money in the bank, okay? It's still good to know about these things, and they're gonna ask about retirement money and retirement plans and where that's all. But it's also designed to help the conversation about money. And you're gonna get, because when you start talking about assets and things, a lot of times people will kind of wall up, You can ask them about their health, they'll tell you anything. You ask them about their money, the wall closes. So you've got to get that back open again when you're talking about money. So tell me about your plans for this money. You know that they've got some money in the bank, whether it's in CDs or it's in, a checking account or a money market account. And a lot of times they will give you a very nondescript answer. It'll be something like, well, I just want to get the best rate on it. If you wanted to get the best rate, it wouldn't be in the bank, okay? But that's not really a goal for the money. You want to ask them, no, what I'm trying to find out is what would you spend this on someday? Yeah. So what would you spend this on someday? And a lot of times they'll tell you, well, and we're talking about seniors here because seniors have most of the money, okay? So you go, well, I would just want to leave it to the kids. That's what my main goal is. And I go, unless I get sick, okay? All right, so first thing they'll come, unless I get sick. Well, since you mentioned getting sick, how's your health been in the last few years? Have you had any major health issues? Okay, we always want to find that out, okay? You'll get introduced to other products as time goes by that are single premium life products that are just slap the money in, put $100,000 in, gives them $150,000 death benefit. With a return of premium if they change their mind in a couple of years, they get their $100,000 back. You don't have that today.
but you're contracted with the company that does it, okay? So, when you're talking about lump sums of money sitting in the bank, you might as well form the habit of asking that question today, because you're gonna be asking it later, okay? So, how long have you had your money invested? Now, if it's in CDs, which there is still some in CDs, I forget I'm getting filmed, and so I sit down.
Not a worry.
If it's in CDs, a lot of times they have rolled it over year after year after year. And they only think about it in 1 year terms, okay? They also don't know when they did it, as far as a date goes. But they do know tied to a life event. So you'll hear things like, well, you know, it really hasn't been that long. I got this CD when John got out of college. And you go, well, when was that? And you go, oh, that was 1994. You know, and all of a sudden, they realize that it's been, what is that, 23 years, you know?
And I made $1,000.
Yeah, you know, see, and the point behind that is we want to reshape their thinking, okay? And we don't reshape their thinking by telling them they're doing something wrong. We reshape their thinking by asking questions and getting them to
Realize.
figure out that they've done something wrong, okay? So we never want to insult them, you know? And if you tell them, you know, that was really stupid that you did, so, you know, that doesn't work, okay? You're gonna lose there. So when they say, you know, it's been since 1994, and you go, wow, that's a long time. And they go, yeah, because they're in a 1 year mindset, we're gonna stretch them to a 10-year mindset, okay? And this is how we do it. We stretch them to the 10-year by asking questions. When was the last time you needed to access any of this money? Oh, I've never had to access any of it, but you never know. You know, yeah, I understand. Well, what do you see in the future that would cause you to access the money? Well, if I got sick, okay, so that won't keep coming back up if I get sick. You know, well, in case of an emergency, would you access this money or money from someplace else, like a money market account? Okay, they will have little old ladies. They'll have $80,000 in their checking account. Okay, they will have CDs, 10 different CDs. And if you ask them about any one particular CD, they go, this is in case of an emergency. And the next month, when one comes due, they'll say, this is in case of an emergency. And every one of them's in case of an emergency, and they've got $80,000 in their checking account. I had a lady like that, she was 78, and I asked her, I said, so, she goes, I said, you keep a lot of money in your checking account, do you mind if I ask you why? And she goes, well, it's just in case. And I said, just in case what? She goes, just in case I have an emergency. I said, that's fair. What's the largest emergency you've had in the last 5 years? She thought about it for a little bit and she said, my son needed to borrow $4,000 3 years ago. He might need some more sometime. It was pulling teeth, but I got $25,000 out of her that day, okay? But they do that, okay? This is our seniors, right? What other CDs or investments do you have? Yeah, and sometimes you ask them about that and they will say, well, that's private, okay? And I'll say, I understand, but if I had something better than what you had someplace else, would you want me to tell you about it or would you want me to shut up?
We had an agent, true story, 2 months ago, his father died, passed away. So he had to go over the house, and he's in the insurance business now, okay? Insurance and financial. He goes over to the house, and the mother's like, I don't know where everything is. Fine. Well, he ended up having to put it in a, like nursing home because the health was, you know. And so he had this house that he had to go through. Do you know what they did? Money was everywhere.
Yeah, I stashed it all
They
places,
went
yeah.
into, you know, his old car, and you know where the tire change, he looked up, you know, I don't know, he for some reason made him lift it up. There was an envelope, open envelope, there was $6,000. You know where the tire changes. And he goes in the garage where the 2 boxes, lift out theirs. And he goes where the mother, like the soul thing, lift up, each layer had an envelope of money. He found over $100,000 cash. It's a, the house has like, and he's still searching right now.
Mhm.
And he said, it is everywhere, you go up and yeah, so the house has got 50 years of stuff in it,
Mhm.
and he said, surely they stuffed it everywhere.
Oh,
But he said a financial planner, insurance business, they wouldn't,
yeah. For a long time, my sales assistant at MKI was one of my former bankers when I worked in the bank. Her name is Sherry Williams, and she's just wonderful. But Sherry had an uncle who passed away in rural Missouri. He lived in a trailer out in the woods. Nobody ever went to visit this uncle, and he died, and Sherry and her husband had to go clean it out. Well, when they walked into it, what they found were coffee cans full of change. And it wasn't a little bit, it was all over the house. In fact, one part of the floor of the trailer home was giving out from the weight. They took it all to the bank and had the change counter do it. It was $38,000 in change, you know?
oh my God.
Yeah, so there's things like that, you know, that people do, you know. But then you ask them about their total CD investments and how much do they have in the market. And if somebody tells you they don't have anything in the market, probe just a little bit more, okay? Because you'll say, do you have an old 401k someplace? And they'll go, well, yeah, but that's not in the market, that's in my 401k. I had,
Actually, they do say that.
yeah, they do, don't they, you know?
But yeah, either that or, you know, you talked about the 401k money when you take it out. It's tax-free.
Yeah, yeah,
I
there's a
don't pay taxes,
lot,
I'm over 60 years old.
yeah, there's a lot of
No,
misconceptions, yeah.
the 401k people really do think it's tax-free,
Mhm.
a lot.
Well, they think the Roth is
Roth
tax
is.
free, yeah.
Yeah,
Right, but they think the regular.
Yeah.
401k is not,
Cause
well,
they're not educated on it.
No, they're
Nobody
not, you
ever
know.
teaches them.
yeah, nobody teaches them, so, and I'm gonna teach you some things here that nobody else teaches you about, and you're gonna find very interesting too. But,
I
question?
do have an off-topic question here. I have a lot of Muslim friends,
Okay,
and the insurance came out in the 1900s, roughly around that time. I've
the
seen.
first annuity was done in 1783, I think.
We're talking about the modern system.
Those were SPIAs, but yeah, the original modern annuity style of annuity is 1950s is when those began. Life insurance itself has been written since the 1800s.
Okay, so basically the look at is the modern stuff as non-Sharia compliant. In other words, it's against their religion to have, because the concept is,
That happened today. That
yeah,
happened
the
today.
concept is you can't make money on money. Okay, you can't, that's why you can't gamble, you can't make money on money.
Mhm.
But what this, and the reason I'm asking is because these guys have a lot of money,
Mhm.
a lot of cash,
Mhm.
okay? And what this is actually investing in the market, right? And
No.
getting a return. The index annuities are.
Index are not invested in the market.
Okay, then I'm wrong.
Okay, I'll
No,
teach you
yeah,
how to,
they
I,
reflect
Okay.
market
this is a
gains.
topic that I probably ought to spend a little time on if you
Yeah.
think, you know, because most people don't understand how this works. It's actually not invested in the
No.
market. So, yeah.
But how do you, like, their concepts are this modern stuff that really don't make any sense,
Mhm.
right? And how do you, because they're Sharia compliant insurance, so how do you, cater to that population, something like that? Like, well, this is,
Yeah.
against whatever.
That's gonna be hard for me because
Yeah.
I've never dealt in that market. You know, I really
I've
haven't.
dealt with it today.
I can learn about it.
I've dealt with it
Rocks.
today.
And
I've dealt with it today.
Yeah.
So he said, the doctor that was in there earlier, for those of you who haven't seen, he goes, we got these,
Oh, yeah.
we can't talk about money, making interest on top of the thing in our community, yada, yada.
Mhm.
And I looked at it, I said, but I goes, then you don't talk about that. What you talk about is ask Mr. Clients, look, if you live a long, long time, is there money for you to utilize, to use, right, that would last you for a lifetime?
Mhm.
I didn't talk about interest. I talked about, what if you, and what if you get sick tomorrow? Where's the money coming from to take care of you?
Mhm.
If you get hurt tomorrow, where's the money's coming to
They,
take care
they,
of
they
you?
don't go for that.
If you have heart attacks, strokes, those kind of things. But this guy got it. This guy was the commute,
Oh,
he,
the guy was here earlier.
the guy was here, he's a doctor in this community. And we didn't talk about interest,
Well, their whole concept is weird. The way their banking system works is very different from our banking system. The way their banking system works is, if you want a house, buy a house, they will own like property. They'll get money from the rental property, right? From that, they will give you the money. So it has to be, they have to own a product. They can't charge the interest.
Mhm.
But according to their religion, okay, I did some study on this, it's pure capitalism, it's pure supply demand. So you cannot regulate currency in their religion, and you cannot have monopoly, okay? But this modern stuff they come out, they had literacy for 500 years. The modern stuff they came out with, but if the bank loses that property because they can't get insurance, the whole thing is gone. I was like, this makes no sense, right? So, but there's got to be a way. I know there's got to be a way to do that, because that is a huge amount of money sitting there, of untapped money.
Like I said, that's a difficult market for me because I have not been in it, but let me research it, okay?
Yeah.
Tomorrow he'll be here.
Sorry.
Tomorrow the doctor will be here. He's in that entire market. He's coming here with his wife.
Maybe we should come by.
You should come back tomorrow. He's here.
Okay, looking at all your current
Sorry about that.
investments, that's all right, no, because that brings up an interesting question, and I'll explain how the cash value is structured, what they do on that. Looking at all your current investments, how much of this money will you never spend, or if you do, it's going to be a very long time? Okay? A lot of our seniors, especially once they get up to 70 plus, they have a number in mind, okay? They know that they want to leave a certain amount behind to their kids. Okay. And it's funny, I had a couple one time who'd been married more than 40 years. They're sitting in my office. You know, I asked them that question, and they were cute because they talked in stereo. You know, I mean, they both would say the same thing at the same time. You know, yeah, and they knew each other very well. And when I asked them that, they said, they're like this. They go, well, you know, we really haven't talked about it that much, but what, about $100,000? You know, it was hilarious. I'm just watching this going, that's funky, okay? You know, but they had a number in mind, and I said, how was that money invested? And they said, well, it's in short-term CDs. And thank you. I said, did you know that if you invest short-term money short-term, versus if you invest long-term money short-term versus investing long-term money long-term, that you will earn 1.5 to 2% less over time having invested short-term. And they go, really? And I said, yeah. So why would you invest it short-term if you're never going to spend it? And they go, well, you're right. How easy do you think that sale was? You know, that one was just done. Well, but you see, I mean, you notice whenever one of these types of, you know how I notice how I answer it with a question. But did you know? Did you know that between June of 2008 and August of 2009 that the S&P 500 lost 61% of its value? Could you stand to lose 61% of the value in your 401k? How would that make you feel? Yeah. God, they're burning me up too. Anyway, so by asking questions rather than confronting them and telling them that they're wrong, you know, you get them to think differently. I asked, here's a common theme today is everybody believes that interest rates are going up, okay? Because the Fed's raising rates, right? Okay, here's the dirty little secret about the Fed raising rates. The Fed raising rates does not mean the banks pay you any more, okay? It has zero effect on them. They're full of cash, they have plenty of money. The only reason for a bank to raise rates is if they needed more deposits. They don't need them, okay? So when the Fed raises rates, what it allows the banks to do is to raise their prime rate, what they charge for loans, and consequently raise the rates on our credit cards. So the banks make more money when the Fed raises rates, the customers don't, okay? But the misconception is that the Fed's raising rates, so rates are going up and rates are not going up.
So your prime loans are your housing loans?
Well, no, prime is what they charge, the best rate for the business for their banking customers. Mortgage rates are actually not connected to that.
No, okay.
Yeah, and they have remained fairly low. They're actually track the 10-year treasury more closely, you know, so. But the prime is, you know, if GE wants to have a revolving credit of $1 billion from the bank, that's what they charge GE as prime, okay? So, but customers believe that interest rates are going up, and they'll tell you, oh, well, I believe that interest rates are going up. And I look at them and I go, you're right, someday. Well, what are you gonna do if rates stay here for an extended period of time? Like 10 years? Because they've been lower than this in Japan for 25. You know, it could happen here. I mean, what are you gonna do? Well, rates have gotta go up. Yeah, I agree, someday. What are we gonna do if it stays here? Especially if they were living off their interest, you know. Okay, you're not arguing with them. You're asking them to consider a different scenario. All right, so, but after you have all of this information, you know, on them, you know that you have money that they don't plan on spending for a long time. They've proven that they haven't spent it over the last 20 years. They're not gonna need it for the next 10 years, because it's gonna be a long time, if ever, okay? It's okay to talk to them about something with 10 years of surrender in it, you know? It's no big deal. You've expanded their time horizon without ever telling them you need to invest longer term, you know? By asking questions, we get them to reshape their thinking, okay? And so now whatever annuity you're comfortable with, go ahead at this point, say, I think I've got just the thing for you. I think you'll like it. Let me show it to you. And after you explain it, and you've done all this, do you know what your close is? How does it sound? And they go, sounds pretty good. You go, hey, why don't we start the paperwork? It's that simple, you know? So, but the important part is establishing the rapport and asking the questions. When it came to selling a fixed annuity at the end of my retail career, before I went to management and training, again, I'd close 9 out of 10, couldn't figure out why the other one didn't buy. But this is what I do. I'd ask questions for half an hour, and here's my product presentation. This is just a plain vanilla. It wasn't indexed. It was just a rate, you know. And I'd say, tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna put your money over with this company, pays you 5% in the first year, 3.5% years 2 through 6, and you won't pay any taxes on it while it grows. How does that sound? And they go, well, okay. Yeah. But you see, it's because the relationship is established, that they trust you now. And you're gonna do the right thing for them. I don't worry about whether you guys are gonna do the right thing for them. You know, you're gonna do the right thing for them. But they believe that you're gonna do the right thing. No, I just go, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna put your money over here, you know? And I sold mutual funds much the same way, you know? I'd say, tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna put your money with this company. And I would have 4 prospectuses bound together with a rubber band in my drawer, and I'd pull them out. I'd set it across the desk at them, and I said, now, it is illegal for me to write on these things. You securities people can't write on any brochures, okay? It's illegal. I said, it's illegal for me to write on these things, but you can. So here's a pen. Here's what I want you to do. I said, that one we're gonna put 40% of your money in, and that one we're gonna put 40% of your money in. And they're sitting there just writing 40 and 40 and 10 and 10, you know? But that all happened prior to product, okay? And that's why it's so important to spend time getting to know our customers, you know? So, we wanna do business with people we like and they like us. So let's be the type of people they like. Yeah. Okay, so now once you have them as a customer, the next thing is to turn them into a client or an advocate. Okay? Buying one thing from you makes them a customer. Buying multiple things from you and buying multiple things from you makes them a client. Referring people to you makes them an advocate. You know, and you can tell the difference between a client and an advocate. Okay, and here's one of the key ways in how your customer talks about you. They will say, if they're a client, they'll say, you need to see my financial advisor, Shirley. Okay. If they're an advocate, they'll say, I need you to talk to my friend Shirley. Okay? They refer you as a friend first. You know, yes, it's about financial stuff, but they go, I want you to talk to my friend. You know, she can help you. the way we get to that point is we get to know them more, okay? And here's a list of 20 things called Let's Talk, did I give you Let's Talk some more? Yes, good, because I'm looking down here and I don't see mine on there. The first thing is asking them, and by the way, you cannot cover all 20 of these in one meeting. Okay, there we go. You can't cover them all in one meeting. Many times you can only cover 2 or 3 of them in any particular meeting that you have with them. You start doing this upon policy delivery, okay? When you deliver the policy, say, you know what, I got a couple more things I wanted to ask you. Number one is, do you have a will? Okay. Do you know that a will directs their estate into probate court? Most people think that a will handles their estate. No, it is a letter of recommendation to the judge about how you want your estate divided up. Probate takes anywhere from 6 months to 18 months or longer. And the minimum probate fees are 4% to the state for the court. And usually attorneys take anywhere from 4 to 15% for their fees to probate it, okay? So you're talking about a minimum of 8% of your estate goes off the top because you have it in a will. And you go, well, what's a will for? A will has a purpose, okay? This is what it's good for. The family jewelry, okay? The family furniture, you know. Any particular personal items where you want it directed, that's what a will is for. But for financial assets, it is horrible, okay? So this is how you avoid it. Your bank accounts should all have a POD designation on it. It's called payable on death. Okay?
Is this written down somewhere?
Time for you to write it down. POD, payable on death designation. POD designations require a name, a date of birth, and a social security number. You can go down to the bank, it is a free service, but the bank won't tell you about it because it's just paperwork to them. And it's work, and they don't get paid for it, so they don't tell anybody. But if you go down to the bank and say, we need to put a POD designation on it, they'll say, okay, and they'll pull out the paperwork. You have to have name, social security number, and date of birth of your beneficiaries, okay? It passes directly to the heirs once the bank is presented with a death certificate, okay? So it can happen within a week. No probate. It is incontestable, okay? You can contest a will, okay? You don't like how the estate's divided up, you can fight it in court. You cannot contest beneficiary designations, okay? If you have a brokerage account, okay, a car title, a house title, a boat title, an RV title, anything that's a titled asset, it is a TOD or transfer on death. It costs nothing to add it to brokerage accounts, however, if you're going to add it to your house, car, or whatever, anything with a title, it's usually a transfer, a fee that you pay at the Register of Deeds at your county courthouse, ranges in each state between $15 and $30 typically to add that designation on there.
We use, I'm sorry, just, it's the Department of Records, you said, did you put that? or-
Register of Deeds,
Register.
Register of Deeds. And you can put the transfer on death designation on it, okay? And then it's okay for the will to take care of everything else, you know?
Jewelry.
Jewelry, yeah, anything that doesn't have a title, that's kind of the key. If it doesn't have a title or it's not liquid assets, okay, cash, you know, that's the thing, you know. So you need to have that. It's also important for somebody to have somebody else on the box as co-owner of the box that they trust on the safety
That's
deposit box.
what we do.
The box.
Yeah,
Vehicle
the safety
deposit.
deposit
Oh.
box, safety deposit box.
How about the living
Oh, you're
trust?
talking about the bottom.
About the what?
Living trust.
A living trust, which,
I mean,
a living trust
any-
can supersede all of that, okay? There's a lot of people out there who don't wanna spend the money, the $3,000 to $5,000 it takes to establish a living trust. And yet they have problems, and many of them don't wanna pay a lawyer, and I understand that, I don't trust them either.
you know? So, but this will take care of it. It works great for smaller estates, okay? Less than $1 million, it works great for. It works great on, if you get into a hers, mine, and ours situation, then you probably need to spend the money for a trust. That's the way my parents are, because my dad passed away about a year and a half ago. But he had the farm, and he was a widower, and he married a woman who had a huge retirement plan, and she was a widower. And so her money's going one way, and the farm's going a different way, and a trust takes care of that, you know. POD designations, not necessarily, you know, you get a lot of mad relatives, yeah.
How about, on property, how do you do that?
Property, if it's titled and deeded, which again, that's, you know,
It's
then,
gonna be probated?
no, TOD on it. And what happens is you go, well, it's got a mortgage on it, right? Well, that's a lien on it.
Right.
Okay, the lien transfers with the property, so
Right.
the,
I knew that.
yeah, so.
So you
if they have-
inherit, are you inheriting the, like they owe money on a property, you would inherit that money they owe on the
You
property?
inherit everything.
Yeah, you inherit the debt and the property as well, but that means that you have control of it and you can sell it.
Okay.
And nobody else, you don't have to wait on anybody else, you don't have to wait on the court to do it, you know, because the bank's gonna want their money. If you've got a $600,000 property with a $400,000 mortgage on it, the bank's gonna want the property. You wanna have the right to sell it before they decide they want the property,
They
okay?
don't really want it either, so
Yeah,
they don't like holding on.
yeah. So anyway, well, we spent a lot of time on that. Number two, do you plan on leaving money to a charity?
Foundation.
Foundation, leave it to the church, you know, that's very, you know, a lot of our seniors wanna do that, they might leave $10,000 to their local congregation, okay? You know, an annuity, okay, when the owner dies, who's responsible for the taxes? The beneficiary, at the beneficiary's tax rate, right?
Yep.
What's the tax rate for a church?
None.
Zero.
Zero.
Right. So it is tax deferred to the owner, but it is tax free to the charity.
Right.
So it is a perfect vehicle for somebody that wants to leave money behind to the church. Put it into an annuity, and the church is gonna end up with more money tax free. But if you get mad at the pastor, okay, you don't have to change your will. All you gotta do is change the beneficiary. It's one sheet of paper. Well, that never happens, does it? No, nobody ever gets mad at the pastor. Oh, okay.
It happens a lot.
We all know that.
You know.
I'm the youth leader, at least they don't get mad at me. Yeah, okay. Number three, how have low interest rates affected your lifestyle? These are people that are used to, you know, living off their interest, that's what their extra income is. You know, sometimes they get a little upset